But today, let's take a look back at some of our time there at the Gudmunden Sandhills Laboratory open house a few weeks ago. While we were there, we were able to catch up with the Vice Chancellor of the Institute of Agriculture and Natural Resources at the university, that is, Mike Boehm. During our time together, we discussed what was happening around the state through the summer months. Really a busy time for the staff, and we also previewed the academic year at the university.
Good to see you, sir. Looking forward to hearing about some of the activities coming up this fall. But before we do that, I suppose we best go back and talk about all the activities that take place during the summer. Did you get a chance to go out to some field days?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, Bryce. A lot of field days. So this kind of, once graduation hits, you're in field day season and fair season. So that's pretty much 90 days of the summer for most of us. So wheat field days, small grain field days take place in June. So there's a busy time from about June 6th over in Fairbury, and jumping over to the Panhandle that ends up maybe the 20th of June, something like that. And then July is pretty quiet. So get a little bit of a breather there. 4th of July celebration, the heat comes in. And then August is pretty busy. And a lot of stuff goes on like that third week of August. We've got new faculty orientation. Of course, we had we always have the annual IANR Rhodes Scholar, ROADS. So we take new faculty and administrators out across Nebraska. That was a bumper crop. We had 32 new folks on the bus, which was just fantastic and really great. We always go from Lincoln to Scottsbluff. Sometimes we go over to Nebraska City and then get across like we did a bit with a year ago with Chancellor Bennett and Mrs. Bennett. And then in August, we have the Gudmunden Sandhills Laboratory field day, which, anytime you get to go out to the Sandhills and just, hear the wind and see the ranchers and have a chance to talk, it's incredible. Panhandle has a crop field day, so that was amazing. And then this year, too, Rorick Pullman out of Sutherland pulled together the master irrigators from Colorado, Kansas. Actually, we had them remotely connected in from Auburn University, from Florida. So really thinking about how do we take things like the TAPS program and turn that into a national program. And of course, Nebraska's leading the way on that front. And then while all that's happening, we've got students coming back. 3,300 students in Kasner, and Dean Hang Moss and Kasner and her team just do such an incredible job. But we're still waiting on September 6th. We'll get the final numbers, but I don't want to jinx anything. It's looking really good right now, and most excited about our new students, but our returning students. All-time retention numbers are expected. So I think with some optimism, maybe in the 8 branding seasons and calving seasons that I've been in Nebraska, we've been on a bit of an enrollment slide, and I think this year we're going to break that, which is exciting. So, and of course, Husker Harvest Day is coming up. That kind of signals the end of our summer. That'll be, we have a big deal out there on the 10th of September. And just lots of cool stuff going on. Those are just some highlight reels of the summer past.
On the enrollment highlights, as you shared, I want to ask you this. In 2024, there's always a lot of conversation about higher education, Mike, and you're ingrained in a lot of those conversations as we look at the university structure broadly, and there's a lot of different options for students today. So what's the sales pitch between Kasner, also NCTA out in Curtis? What's the pitch for getting students interested in ag careers and then in particular studying within Nebraska?
Yeah, Bryce, well, I think, for me, maybe it's unconventional. I don't know where I picked this up. Maybe it's because I was a first-generation college kid. Parents didn't go to college. Grandparents didn't go to college. Grew up in a very blue-collar kind of working-class neighborhood, and you don't know where you're at in the pecking order socioeconomic-wise until you go off, if you get lucky, to go to college. And I guess I really feel like we need to meet learners wherever they're at. That's kind of number one. Not all learners. Maybe my time in the military, my 21 years there, maybe that also you helped me form this perspective that learners, we're all learners. We all take different paths. I'm through and through a Husker, so I'm very competitive. I think we make the case when I talk with students and families about making a decision. I think NCTA is part of our family. So about 20% of the students at NCTA will come over to Kasner and pursue additional, but a lot of those students, they're 4 semesters of classes and experiential learning, they're going back to the farm or the ranch. And so when I talk with students, I talk about how we distinguish ourselves at the land-grant university. So you know this because your wife is from around those parts, but the fact that we have the Lou Ranch at NCTA, a 2,100 acre experiential ranch in amazing cattle country. I talk about Gudmunden Sandhills Laboratory, that's 2.5 hours from Curtis. I talk about U.S. Meat Animal Research Center and the Great Plains Veterinary Education Center, and so vet tech students that can connect in there. On the city campus or on the Lincoln campus, east or city, I talk to students that want to be large animal veterinarians, but they've never been around cattle because they grew up in Omaha or Cleveland or Detroit. Wow, we can actually use the system and get them over to NCTA and get them up to Gudmunden and get some of that experiential learning. So when it comes to our ace in the hole at the land grant, it's just this amazing network that reaches across Nebraska, and it's our connection with the people who produce our food, our fuel, our feed, our fiber. So, good luck to the competition.